Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving right into one of the most famously feared placements when it comes to personal wealth, Saturn in the 8th house. You know, when the planet of restriction literally sets up shop in the house of shared resources, it's going to cause some anxiety. But we're going to look closely at the data today to understand exactly how this placement operates. So let's just jump right in.
Okay, so this is the ultimate fear, right? You look at your chart, you see Saturn sitting there all heavy in the 8th house, and immediate panic sets in. The question staring you right in the face is, wait, does this mean I get absolutely nothing? Does Saturn just completely deny my inheritance or block my access to family wealth forever? It's a heavy question, and honestly, it's entirely valid to feel kind of anxious when you're trying to figure out what this means for your future.
But here's where things get really interesting and where we can actually shatter that exact fear. The pervasive myth out there is that your inheritance is just flat out denied, no way around it. But the reality? Inheritance isn't denied at all, it's restructured. Wealth isn't being taken away from you under Saturn's influence. Instead, it's fundamentally reshaped by time and formal systems. Saturn really doesn't want to leave you empty-handed. It just wants to ensure that the wealth you receive is built on a totally solid, unshakable foundation, even if the process looks, well, radically different than you originally expected.
That brings us to Section 1, Saturn in the 8th house, the architect of restructuring. So, instead of viewing it as a punisher withholding your family money, think of Saturn more like an incredibly thorough auditor. It operates strictly as a force that restructures wealth through time, responsibility, and formal systems. The absolute key takeaway you need to grasp here is that under this influence, coming into money is literally never immediate and it's never effortless. This wealth is governed by strict rules. Saturn demands that everything is done exactly by the book, which means the entire process is going to be incredibly formalized.
Moving into Section 2, delays and legal hurdles, navigating the red tape.
Look, if you're dealing with this placement, you're going to hit some frustrating realities that require you to navigate a total maze of bureaucracy. If we map it out on a timeline, early life is largely just a phase of waiting. The wealth exists, sure, but it's entirely inaccessible. Then, as you move into midlife, you hit the friction. This is where the probate processes and legal hurdles get triggered, and the system seriously bogs down. Finally, we reach later life, which is when the actual asset distribution typically happens. The reality here is that inheritance arrives much later in life simply because these formal approval processes move at an absolute glacial pace.
And what's actually causing all those delays? Severe legal hurdles. You might actually find yourself dealing with protracted court cases, absolute mountains of documentation, or complex probate processes that feel like they drag on for centuries. Financial gains under this placement absolutely require patience and persistence because the formal approvals simply will not be rushed. Saturn is going to ensure that every single I is dotted and T is crossed before a single asset changes hands.
So how do we reframe that exact frustration? Well, yes, delays create emotional frustration for sure, but they also mean the outcomes become incredibly stable and long-lasting. I mean, the waiting period is totally draining, no doubt about it. But because Saturn forces the wealth through such a rigorous, structured, legal process, once those assets are finally distributed to you, they are entirely secure. The delay is actually the very thing that guarantees the permanence of the outcome.
Let's look at Section 3, Responsibilities and Family Wealth, the Weight of the Legacy.
You see, receiving an inheritance under Saturn's grip is not like winning the lottery. You aren't just magically handed a check. It comes with heavy, very specific ties. We're talking care for elderly family members, long-standing generational property disputes, or attached debts and strict maintenance requirements. This placement brings real, practical, and emotional responsibilities. You really aren't just inheriting the wealth. You're inheriting the unresolved problems of the past, too.
And this all builds into a highly specific process. Step 1, you inherit the asset, but equally, you inherit its obligations. Step 2, you have to put in the actual work to clear the maintenance and pay down whatever attached debt is there. And finally, Step 3, you receive the wealth in structured phases. Saturn rarely, if ever, allows for a massive, single lump sum payout. The distribution is meted out systematically to make absolutely sure that you manage the wealth responsibly over time.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, the ultimate financial lesson, maturity and appreciation. Up until now, we've talked mostly about the red tape and the heavy burdens. But right here is where the true payoff reveals itself. Think about it. If you had immediate access to the assets, their value would probably be much lower. But because of the delayed resolution, because it literally took years to untangle the red tape, settle the disputes, and clear the debt, the assets have actually increased in value over time.
The delay itself acts almost like an incubator for the wealth, appreciating its value far beyond what it would have been if you'd just gotten it effortlessly on day one.
At the end of the day, Saturn is acting as a strict teacher. And what is the lesson here? Well, first, it teaches ultimate financial discipline. You learn exactly how to manage complex, structured wealth. Second, it forces mastery over timing. You really learn that true wealth cannot be rushed. And third, it demands financial maturity. By the time you finally gain full control of the inheritance, you've been so thoroughly trained by the process that you know how to protect and grow it, rather than just squander it.
It all really boils down to this singular truth. Inheritance is not immediate or effortless. It is earned. Under Saturn, your legacy is genuinely earned through enduring the passage of time and developing the deep maturity required to handle shared family wealth. It isn't just a simple gift, you guys. It's a graduation.
So we are left with this final thought. Knowing that the delays, the bureaucracy, and those heavy responsibilities are actually just the necessary steps to secure highly stable, appreciated, and long-lasting wealth, are you ready to do the work to unlock your family's legacy? It requires immense patience and discipline, for sure, but the structure Saturn builds is truly meant to last lifetimes. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this gives you a powerful new perspective on your own financial structures.